They came away limping after that tackle. Here's one over the middle, in the air, and it is intercepted by Seattle and Earl Thomas as he bows to the Dallas sideline. Let's take another look.
Yeah, the ball gets tipped up, and Jarwin is basically just trying to knock the ball down, get it out of there, and pull it in.
Welcome back, everybody. NFL Week 3 is officially over. Yes, we're on Week 3. Last time we were talking about Week 1. Of course, being a college student, midterm season hits you hard, and we didn't cover Week 2. But that's okay, because we still have a bunch of weeks left. Week 3 is over. A lot of key things that we're going to bring up today in this show, including some of the Le'Veon Bell drama that's going on. This week, I would call the NFL's annual disastrous Sunday. Earl Thomas, where's he going to go, if he's going anywhere? We're going to talk about the Patriots, too, as well as the best and worst of this week, and the Week 4 preview, and a new thing I like to call my pick for the game of the week. And, you know, I'm going to start with this. The NFL has, over the years, always had the disastrous Sunday. Week 3 was that Sunday. For a lot of people, fantasy-wise, it wrecked you. And watching it, your enjoyment couldn't have gotten any worse. It was a brutal week, and really the only way you can define a disastrous Sunday is by these two things. The injuries either killed your week, and there were a lot of them this week. That killed my week. A lot of fan bases' weeks ended. Weeks or seasons ended, and the upsets cost people money betting on the games. And there were a lot of upsets. But let's start with the injuries, because there were a few big ones, and I'm going to get to the biggest one afterwards, after I go through these. But the Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib injuries, the two starting corners for the Rams, was brutal. Now, they play tonight. I am doing this on a Thursday. So they play tonight against the Minnesota Vikings. That game is tough to pick because with those two guys out, I don't know how they're going to look. Now, the Vikings don't have Everson Griffin either. Hopefully he's going to be okay. He's been having some mental health issues recently. And really that game hinges on injuries and who's healthier. The other thing that I would say, as far as injuries are concerned, Andrew Luck does not look fully healthy to me. He struggled against Philadelphia, but a lot of people do struggle against Philadelphia. Carson Wentz looks semi-okay, but we'll get to him later. And overall, another injury that kind of wrecked the week, A.J. Green, if you're a fantasy person, wrecked your week because Carolina decided they wanted to be headhunters and took out everybody. If you're a Carolina fan, you're sitting there, oh, we beat a 2-0 team. Yeah, you beat a 2-0 team without Joe Mixon, one of the better running backs in the game. I would call him one of the best. You beat him without A.J. Green because you took him out of the game. And that's about it. You didn't win the game fairly. But I'm not going to dwell on that. The other thing I would say, Buccaneers lost this week because of injuries. Not to say the Steelers were any good, because they weren't. But you want to point out to all these things about injuries this week, and there were a bunch of small ones that wrecked teams' weeks. But let's get to the upsets, because the biggest injury I'm not going to cover yet. The upsets really were the worst part of the week. And let me just tell you who won and which games were an upset. The Giants beat the Texans, which everyone viewed as an upset. myself as well. The Titans barely beat the Jaguars. Again, that one was kind of a snooze fest, but the Titans won and proved to us that maybe the Jags aren't the top of that class, or the top of that division. The Redskins beat the Packers. The Lions beat the Patriots, and the Steelers beat the Buccaneers. Those were all upsets. But the biggest upset came in Minnesota. Dear Lord, did they look unprepared. Josh Allen had a party in the middle of that field against the Minnesota defense, and Buffalo beat the Vikings for their first win of the season. That was huge. And the implications of that game will stem to the playoffs. There are four 1-1-1 teams. The Browns, Steelers, Packers, and Vikings. 1-1-1. That's unbelievable. Now, luckily, there was an overtime game this week, but there was no tie, and that was the Saints-Falcons game. That's the only good thing to come out of this week. That's it. So you want to come out here and say, oh, it was a good week of football. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Upsets killed this week. They didn't actually, correction. Upsets didn't kill this week. The injuries were the things that killed this week. And the biggest injury that occurred was Jimmy Garoppolo. The 49ers season's over. It's over. Now, he made a dumb decision trying to get extra yardage. Correction, he was trying to get extra 5 inches. There were 5 Chiefs surrounding him. When I saw the injury at first, I thought he got hit in the head. I'm like, oh, he just got his bell rung. He's okay. It wasn't until I saw the other angle of the injury where I saw him immediately grab for his knee that I realized he just tore his ACL. He wasn't hit, non-contact, tore his ACL. Whenever you see a non-contact injury and the knee is affiliated with it, it's always a torn ACL. Always. More often than not. The season's over. It's over. And I was rooting for them this year. I thought they were going to be a good team. They were going to be better than they have been in years past. But it's over. And I'm going to address one thing about this. Everyone who's... Okay. When I watch the games, I have a Twitter thing put up. I look for the tags. Or not tags, trends. Who's trending on Twitter? Jimmy Garoppolo was trending, and I'm like, okay, I saw it. He's hurt, blah, blah, blah. I looked at it. The first thing that popped up was the Niners should sign Colin Kaepernick. What? My first response was, did this person know football? Do they know football? Odds are they don't. They're probably an NBA fan, sitting here running his mouth because he has nothing better to do. That's the other thing. I don't even get NBA fans. You're a fan of a sport that's against competitiveness. And you're sitting here and you're like, oh, but we're the better sport because we don't have these social issue problems. Really, bro? You can use that argument. That's fine. But the fact of the matter is, your sport's not enjoyable. I don't know one person who sits through the entire NBA season. You know it's bad when the NFL draft gets more viewers than the NBA finals. Because your teams are not competitive. So when I sit here and people are going out and saying, go sign Colin Kaepernick, 49ers, my initial response was, these people don't know what they're talking about. And I still believe that. Why would the team that released him, why would the team that he opted out of his contract for go back and sign him? It's the same head coach. It's the same general manager. For that system, Kaepernick's not better than C.J. Beathard. That's a fact. That's a fact. And if you want to come argue that point, feel free to comment in the comments section, and I might bring you on a video. I might. But he's not better than C.J. Beathard for the system. He's not. Has he sat through and looked at Kyle Shanahan's system and studied the playbook for Shanahan's system for 2 seasons? No. Was he drafted by the team, by Shanahan and Lynch? No. I'll tell you who the Niners should go after instead. Le'Veon Bell. You lost Jerick McKinnon and Jimmy Garoppolo for the season, both to non-contact injuries. Why won't you go get Le'Veon Bell? Why don't you just call Pittsburgh and go get Le'Veon Bell? You have the most to give, but you also, and I don't want you to give a lot to them because it's the Steelers, but you have the most to give. You also have the most money to go out there and sign a Le'Veon Bell. So don't come at me with this go sign Colin Kaepernick garbage. Because I guarantee you, he would still be a backup, he would still throw a tissy fit, and he'd sit there on the sidelines whining and crying, waiting to be released from the team. And don't misconstrue my comments. I said whining and crying. I didn't say kneeling. I do not view those as one and the same. I don't. So if you want to sit here and quote me and say that I'm saying that everyone protesting the anthem is whining and crying like a petulant child, go to hell. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is he will sit there on the sideline and sulk because he's a backup. That's what he's viewed as. If you guys can't get over it, that's not my issue. We're going to move on to the next segment. We're going to talk about Le'Veon Bell. Where will he go? And I kind of just gave you a hint as to where I think he should go. We're going to talk about Earl Thomas and the New England Patriots. Stay tuned.